You can see the soft limits are now different than what it was yesterday, right? So you can see on the storage, on the snapshot. So now the soft limit has changed. So this is how it will look like. So basically we have covered all of these sections yesterday, and maybe what we'll do is we'll just log out of this and come back to this section later, so that I can show you how to how to come up with a new project and how to start testing it within that project. So maybe when your team is testing, what they can do is they can have separate projects for each one of them. So that much resources are not available. So maybe at a time 1 person, 2 person can work on their own individual projects and see how things are working out. Okay. So let's log out and log in as admin. So once you log in as admin, you'll be able to see again the similar kind of dashboard which we saw yesterday. And then we discussed all these things yesterday, so we'll just move on to the admin tab. So in the under the admin tab again, this is something which we discussed yesterday, that how the project usage overview would look like. So let's go to the compute section. So under compute section, you can see there are additional fields available here, right? So here it is showing you the hypervisors which are available. So presently the compute functionality is also enabled on controller. In a production scenario we won't do this, but just to understand like how multiple hypervisors would look like, this is how you can see how each hypervisor is listed over here. The total CPU and RAM configuration also you can see, and the amount of local storage which is available, that also you can see. And you can also see number of instances on each of the hypervisors, right? And again, so compute host is like a logical term of within Openstack. So what it gives you is it gives you the some additional details about availability zone, whether that compute host is enabled or it is in a disabled state. So what I can do is I can disable the compute service here. I can say that okay, this is in maintenance, so I can disable this service, so that when we have like lots and lots of compute services, we can disable one or two for maintenance. So while by disabling it here, any new instances won't go to this compute node, but the instances which are already running there will still continue to exist there and work. If you want to evacuate, we can evacuate the host as well. So you can see a migrate host is available here itself. So you can click that and all the instances will migrate to the other compute node. So we'll just re-enable the service. So you can see the service has been re-enabled. Okay. So similar to the server groups which we saw yesterday, we can also create host aggregates. So host aggregates is kind of again a grouping for the compute nodes, not for the VMs which we saw yesterday. This is for compute nodes. Why we would want to do this is there might be a scenario where some compute nodes are advanced in nature. So basically some compute nodes would have this multiple the network speed might be high on some compute nodes. So let's say some compute nodes are supporting 100 Gbps of traffic, right? So we could create host aggregates for that. Then some compute nodes are providing you graphics capability as well. So you can segregate those into host aggregates, those compute nodes. Then some other compute nodes would be suitable for, let's say, VNF deployment, right? So you can then again segregate them together, so that whenever you are spawning up new instances, you can specify the host aggregate where it should go. So the instance will automatically spin up on that host aggregate. So that's how we'll use host aggregates here. Again, in the compute from an admin panel, if you go to instances, you'll be able to see all the instances. All the means all the instances running in each and every project you'll be able to see. So you'll be able to see admin project, then on which host it is running, the IP address of the VM, and power state and all those things you'll be able to see. So from here also you can perform certain admin related activity. You can migrate this instance, you can shell this instance, and you can like shut off the instance, start the instance, those kind of things you can do. So these are like admin related functionality which are present here. And then we go to flavors. So again, flavors is like the CPU, RAM, and hard disk configuration which you would create. So let's create a flavor here. So you can define the number of CPU, RAM, hard disk over here. So we are defining one CPU. One CPU is the minimum, and then we would go with 256 MB of RAM. Again, root disk also one GB disk is the minimum. So you can just create this. Again, flavor access you can manage if you want to share this flavor with a particular project. You can do that. Otherwise, you can just leave it by default. It will be accessible to everyone, right? So it will be a public flavor then. So you can create flavors over here, and then finally we have images. So you can see we have like 2 images already uploaded. You can then further upload various other images, right? So you can upload it from your local PC. You can use URLs and all to upload the image. So this is how like we create the images on this on the OpenStack platform. So there's not much requirement, like you just need to specify the format, and rest everything you can leave as default and it will take care. And then only other thing is the visibility which you need to take care of. So visibility is something whether you want to share it among various projects, or there might be some images which you want to keep it dedicated to a particular project. So those kind of things can be done using OpenStack. Okay. So let's do cancel here. Then we go to volume section. So volume section again, we saw all of these action items yesterday. One specific action item we were, one specific submenu which we didn't see yesterday was volume types. So let's see how you can create volume types. So here you can see I have created these volume types, right? So one is coming from SEP, one is coming from LBM. If we want, we could associate certain quality of services to to a volume type. So let's say we say self QoS. So within that quality of service, you can then manage the specification that what it is going to offer. So you can restrict its again, it is a key value pair based, so you can see restrict the total IOPS per second. You can restrict total bytes per second maximum value, and then size IOPS per second. Those kind of things you can manage, right? So you can control the quality of storage which a person is getting, right? So there might be a scenario where you would want to provide more IOPS to a particular consumer than the others on average. So what you can do is you can do a QoS for general users, which would be like something restricted to 100 IOPS per second, or maybe 200 IOPS per second. And then users who are demanding like more IOPS, you can then control it over here. So you can provide them like 1000 IOPS based on the based on the IOPS you can manage the billing for that particular volumes, right? So those things you can do. So you can apply this QoS on a volume type, and those kind of things you can do. Okay, so you can see as of now there's nothing associated, but if you want to apply, you can manage QoS specification. You can select anyone and you can associate it to the particular volume type. Right, so this will help you to restrict the quality of service. So for now, in our use, we will just delete it. We don't require it as of now, since we are just testing things. So that was under volume types. And again, if you go to volumes over here, it's not just restricted to admin thing. You will be able to see all the volumes present within the system. Similar for backups, you'll be able to see all the backups, all the snapshots, right? So those things will come here. Then under network also, you'll be able to see all the different networks, not only the admin networks, but networks which are part of demo or which are part of other projects. That also you'll be able to see. Then similarly for routers, you'll be able to see all the routers. You'll be able to manage them. You'll have any floating IPs, you can like just define over here. Then resource role-based access control, you can define role-based access control and apply them, right? So this is the default policy which is available for the project admin, which is present over here, right? So you can specify target project, create those role based access control policies. So basically role based you will create when let's say in some project you have like two people to manage it. One is the server side administrator and one is the network side administrator. So for network side administrator, you could create a role based access control policy where he will be able to manage only specific resources of that particular project. So just defining, creating the policy here is not enough. You need to create a JSON at the backend to definitely put key value pairs in that JSON that that the particular person will have access to, or that particular role will have access to, and then once that is created, you can then map it to a particular project. Okay, and then we go to the system tab. So this will give you the default information. So this also you can edit. So by default, if you create a project, these are the quotas which get applied, right? Irrelevant of what is available at the backend. This is the soft limit which gets applied. So while creating the project, you can change it, or you can modify the default quota itself, so that you can keep it to low, like 2 CPUs and just 2 CPUs and maybe 10 GB RAM as the default quota, and then you can increase it based on the project requirements. So similar to compute quotas, we have volume quotas and we have network quotas. These are just the default values. So if you want to change the defaults, you can change it. If you don't want, you can just leave it idle as it is. While creating the project, you can manage that. Then we come to metadata definitions. Again, this is something where is specific metadata is created and we attach it to a particular resource. Again, something for more better management of cloud resources. Generally, we will not do it, but in case the need arises, then we can create metadata definitions over here. And then we have system information. This gives you the API information of what services are running, what is the region. So region 1, region 2 can be there, or we can name it as region APAC, region US. Those kind of naming convention can be used, right? So similar to services, we have then segregated one, compute services. So these are your compute services running. So 3 are running on controller and 1 is running on compute. Then we have block storage services. So you can see Cinder scheduler is there. Scheduler is only running on the controller node, but volume is running, and it is running at 2 locations. So one location is managing the Ceph portion, the other location is managing the LVM portion, the LVM based storage. And then there is a backup service which is managing the NFS based location. And these are the agents which are deployed on various sources. So again, more detailed information about what is running, what is not running. So those kind of things can be taken care from. And again, we have view routers over here, so you can just inspect what all routers are running on the controller node. So that information can be grabbed. Then we move on to identity section. But before we move on, any questions from the team? We can address the questions and then proceed forward to identity tab. Identity is like the project management of the entire cloud environment. Okay, then I'll move forward with the identity information. So in identities, you have projects, you have users, you have roles for these users, and then you have application credentials. So application credential is used by tools like Terraform and all to automate the cloud environment. So there you cannot provide it with your username and password for a project. You need to create application credentials and put application credentials to the automating tool. So that way it can manage it. Okay, and then so let's go into them one by one. So these are the projects right now available. So in case if you would want to create a project for someone, you can just create it. So let's say I'm creating one for Mansi. Then project members, who all will be the members of the project. So right now I don't have a user for Mansi, so I'm just creating a project. So I'll just put the information again. I'll create the project. So as soon as we create the project, what I need to do is I need to manage the quotas for the project. I'll just modify quota, and I would say that okay, you are allowed to spin just 2 instances. Use, let's say, about 8 vCPUs only, and RAM I would restrict to, let's say, 128. Okay, so 12 GB of RAM only. So this is how you can control how many volumes, how much storage a user can provision, right? By default. So instead of controlling the virtual machines, you would control the quota of that particular account. So whatever the quota is, the user will be billed up for the quota, not for the virtual machine. So that kind of billing approach can be taken, or you can say that okay, number of vCPU hours, number of RAM hours, those can be calculated and billed. Okay. So right now I don't have a user from Ansi, so I'll just go ahead and create it. So let's create a user. I'll just use small and the description. Let me put the password. So we will not put password in production environment. Okay, it's just so that you guys can save the password there and use it. Okay, and then here we select a project, and the role for this user is user. You can also make this an admin user, but we don't want to, right? So we just want to give them the user role. We'll just create this user, and we'll be able to then log in through this user. And then again, similar to other locations, we have groups. So you can create a group, and then you can allocate projects and users to this group, and then manage them as a group. So that maybe there is an organization and you have 10-20 users from that organization, so you can manage all of the users in a group, so that any policy changes or anything which you want to apply applies to the group, and in a hierarchy gets applied to the subsequent users as well. So then let's go to the roles. So roles again, by default, like admin role, member role is available. I just created a my role. You can again go ahead and create more roles, but roles are applicable only if at the backend you restrict the roles with specific control attributes of the dashboard. So just by creating a role is not enough. We need to map that role with certain policies which will be controlling the cloud, and then we give that role to a particular user. So that is how that mapping goes. So generally in our day-to-day use, we'll not be creating any further roles, just user and admin for now. But if required, we can will be creating further roles. And then as we talked about, this is our last piece, the application credentials. So you can create application credentials to automate the entire piece, right? So you can, so as I told you that you can define access roles. How you can, this is how you would define an access role. That okay, this particular API key will only have access to the compute. Only method allows this post. So this is something advanced we'll discuss. Generally, using creating an application credential will not be done by day-to-day operators. This is something an core admin will come in and create for the team. Okay, so I'll just cancel it. So this is our overview of like OpenStack dashboard, and so if are there any questions, or else I would go ahead and log in into Mansi's project and create the basic things which are required to create the virtual machine and start managing them.
think it's so clear. It looks more
Okay.
like AWS. So for a person who has played AWS, this is coming back as a deja vu.
Yeah, yes. So it matches a lot with the AWS environment. Only thing is like right now we have not enabled many features. It's just restricted to certain limited features which we have enabled. So let's log in into Mansi's environment. So as soon as you log in, you can see again nothing is there. So first thing what we need to do is we need to create a router and an internal network so that then we can go ahead and create then we can go ahead and create the instances. So I'm opening this network topology page. From here you can almost manage everything. So you can see as an end user the external network is available by default, but as an end user you cannot manage that network, right? It is there, but you cannot perform any changes onto it, right? You are not also able to see the subnet which is associated, right? So those things are hidden from a normal user. So first thing what we'll do is we'll create a router and we'll say the -1. We'll select the external network and then it will create a router and it will attach to that particular network. As soon as it gets attached, the second step what we want to do is we want to create a network for ourselves. So let's go ahead and let's call it -net1, and we don't want to specify an MTU, so we move next and we want to create a subnet. Okay. Any random IP address can be taken, but I am taking 1.0/24. Then I want to define a gateway IP for this, so let's keep it 1.1. And then again I want my instances to have access to DNS server. Since I don't have a customized DNS server, I'll be using Google's DNS server, and we can hit create. So now you have a network, you have a router, but the router is not connected to the network, right? So what you need to do is you need to attach the network to the router. So this is the network which we just created, so you just attach it. So as soon as I hit attach, it will attach an interface to this router. You go back to our network topology page and see what the changes happen. So you can now see a link from here to here, right? So now basically all the things are ready for you to go. We need to then go to the security groups. Why we are going here? Because by default only egress traffic is allowed. If you want to ping, if you want to do an SSH to the VM, that is not allowed. So we'll create a testing policy called allow all, and then within that allow all I'll add a rule. I'll add certain set of rules to allow all kind of ICMP traffic, and then I'm going to allow all kind of TCP traffic and UDP traffic, right? This is just for testing. In production we won't be allowing every kind of traffic. In production we might be allowing just maybe SSH or something, right? So we created the security group. Now let's go to compute and create an instance. So right now we don't have any volumes, nothing, but we straight away go to instance and let's call this instance empty. Then as a source we want to select image as a source, so we want the instance to boot from an image, but we are also saying that okay, create new volume. So instead of using local volume, it will be using the LVM based volume, right? The Cinder volumes. And we want to keep the size as 1 GB because we are using 0s, so we'll just use it. Do next. So which type of volume it will pick by default? Can anyone answer that?
LVM?
Yeah, because LVM is our default, because for now LVM is default. So in our configurations we have configured LVM storage as default, so it will by default go to LVM until unless you specify that okay, we want a Ceph based volume, it will not provision any volume on Ceph. So we have chosen the flavor that we just created. Then our network which we just created, we have chosen that. Then the network ports you don't need to define. If you want to add any additional ports which are pre-created, you can add it from there. Then we have security groups. So we want to map allow all so that every kind of traffic is allowed and we can do the testing. For CentOS instance specifically, you don't need a key pair, but if you are using a Linux instance, Ubuntu or CentOS, you need to create a key pair first, right? So you can create a key pair from here as well. But since it is not required for CentOS, we'll just skip this portion. And then we have the customization script. So anything which you want to like have the instance preloaded, you can specify the script from there. You can specify the script from a file. So it will, as soon as the instance boots, it will try to install any software which is required, any configuration changes which needs to be done. So all those kind of automation can be done from this dashboard itself. Then we go to server groups. We don't want to add this to any server group, so we'll just move on. Then again, these are the metadata which I was talking about. So once you define metadata, it will appear here. So you can specify certain metadata and add it to the instance. There are a lot of different ways and different use cases for the metadata, but for now we'll just skip it. And let's go ahead and launch the instance. The first thing what it will do is it will create a volume. It will download the image to that volume and then map that volume to this instance and then start booting up of the instance. So right now you can see it is mapping the block device to the instance. So once that is mapped, it will start powering on the instance. So actually that all this process is very instant. So you can see it has already started running the instance, right? So our instance is running. Let's check if we have any volumes or backups or anything, any kind of those things later, right? So you can see the default type is LVM. So an LVM based volume has been created and it is mounted on M1, right? So let's execute and ask it to create a backup for us. So we'll say, okay, M1 maybe backup. You can, so this is just to identify that, we created any backup. So we want to put a name or maybe a optional container name so that we can identify that for which instance did we create this backup, right? So now you can see a backup is being created for this instance. Since our volume is very small, this will be very fast, and also everything is like virtualized, so better speed. Generally, we would place a compression algorithm for the backup so that whenever backups are happening, they are automatically compressed and they are not of the original size, right? So meanwhile, this backup is happening. What we can do is, so let's see the back. Okay, so the backup is already done. So now let's go back to our instance.
Where is the backup located? Sorry that I'm stopping you. We're supposed to wait.
Yeah, no worries, man. Yeah, please tell.
What is the backup kept? Is it kept in the same volume, or we have, because in the design you were showing that there's a space for backup. Is the backup taken immediately to that space?
Yes, backup is via the network. It will be taken to the NFS server.
What is our situation right now? What is it now? In POC, do we have that space, or?
Yes, you have that space. It is on the NFS server. So I'll show you this sheet. So if I open the CLI for you, and let's say I want to log in to the NFS server, right? So this is your NFS server. I'll keep it small so that we can correlate it. So if I go to the location, I'll be able to see backups, and if I do an ls, I can see this m1-backup, right? And if I do an ls here, I'll be able to see it is being stored over here. Okay, so it is coming over here. From where? It is coming from your controller node. So I'll show you that as well. So I'm logging into the controller node as of now.
In a nutshell, what we're talking about here, these are the services that a person who is used to AWS would find the same service in this area. Is that what we need to be
Right,
getting to our customers, right?
right.
Because from the time we started, that's what he's showing us, and that's why you're seeing me now asking questions: where are things located, to understand now how this whole matter works. And the next question is going to be for me. Sorry to, I hope I'm not interrupting what you're saying here.
No. It's fine. Means
Going to
until
be
unless you interrupt me, you won't get to understand where the volumes are.
yes. No, yesterday we said that we have to wait until you finish and then we ask. So the question I want to ask next is, looking at safe, the things that have been happening to it of lately, when the power goes off and all goes down, would you advise that a person has a safe in two different, I mean, made up of nodes on two different sites to avoid such situations? Or
Yes. That's why we have like a DR site in production scenarios. We should always have a DC, which is like the data center, which is hosting everything, and then we should also have a DR site. So sometimes due to cost considerations and everything, because if you're building a DR site, it will cost you same as the production. The servers will cost you the same, the equipments will cost you the same, the services will cost you the same, the support will cost you the same. So generally to avoid that, what people do is like, if not possible, to keep the entire solution into a DR site, where if DC goes down, the DR, everything is working on the DR, and then people just switch over and silently everything starts moving to DR site, and people start using DR site. They even don't notice. Like AWS has multiple DR sites, right? So if one DC is going down, you won't even notice that it has went down, right? So similarly, we should also keep like best practice, but if not, then at least let's keep the backup at the DR side. Something like, if even if we are not able to recover our primary site, at least we know the consumer data is safe at the backup side, and if required, we can like restore the data from there.
okay, they're talking about the backup. I was talking about the safe. Safe, I mean, safe as in that type of volume. Like having nodes that reside in the two different sites to ensure that even though the power goes down, nothing happens so much. If it comes up, to still pick information from the one on the other side. You know what I'm trying to say
Right.
here?
Yes, I can
To
understand.
avoid
So basically,
crashes like the one we've been seeing of late,
right. So
the power
yes,
stuff.
in that case, your backup should be like Cinder backup should be replicated to the DR site. So this particular server, all of the data in this particular server should be replicated to a DR site.
And what would happen in case now we had a power shortage, like the one happening the last time? What would be the
Mhm.
scenario?
You could just come here onto this node, copy the data, and you can just click restore backup, and it will just restore it. So instead of restoring it to the same volume, you can say that okay, create a new volume and restore the backup to that. As soon as you click that, it will access your backup and it will restore all your data to this new volume.
Raul,
Yep, you can hear
you were
me.
talking about backup and restore. I'm not talking about backup and restore. I'm talking
Mhm.
about mitigation against safe crashes, like the one we've been seeing of late.
No, I understand that. So in that case, as I said, if you have such resources that you could invest in both DC and DR side, you won't even notice this side going down. Your DC will be down, automatically everything will switch over to your DR side.
Oh, okay.
So in that case, similar infrastructure like this, you would be having a controller node in DR side. You will be having some compute nodes in DR side. You will be having Ceph storage on the DR side. You will be having LVM storage on DR side. So everything will be kept in sync, like regular sync at every 1 hour, half an hour. And as soon as the DC goes down, everything is there in DR side. So consumers just switch this there would be a DNS name here, which is initially pointing to your DC side. It will just start pointing to your DR side.
No, forget about two controllers. I'm talking about here we have one controller, but the nodes that make up the safe, some of them are not in the same side.
No,
The node
that's not possible to have. That's not possible. So if you don't have the controllers available, means you cannot connect storage. To be very specific, you cannot connect storage from US region to APAC region. Then there will be like huge latency. Means that is not possible for anyone. It's not just possible for us. It is not possible for anyone.
Okay, that's just one of the get. Okay. I thought of some magic possible. Continue now. There's no magic. Okay.
No. So like even like if we talk about AWS, they also keep local DR sites. Like one is there in Mumbai in India, and the other one is in Bangalore. So manageable distance. So if the primary goes down, data is backed up like every hour into from Mumbai to Bangalore, right? So if an earthquake happens in Mumbai, Bangalore data center gets activated automatically. Means it's already active. It's not an active passive kind of thing. So Bangalore data is DC is already active. So people start just the DNS pointers shift towards Bangalore DC, and when you type AWS cloud, it automatically takes you to the Bangalore DC, and you keep your operations as usual.
Okay.
But then you need all of things like the controllers, computes, everything you need there.
Okay.
Okay. So I'll just yes, sure. So I'll just delete this store.
Are you gonna finish in 30 minutes? Whatever remains.
Yeah, sure. I guess we'll be just finishing off because there's not much to show now. We created an instance, we took its backup. Maybe we need to like log in. We can see the instance console, how it is connecting to the internet maybe. So basically today I think that won't be possible on SSH forwarding. So I'll take console of one of your instances and show you there. So today morning this instance was behaving very slow, so I just wanted to avoid it. Okay, now it is fast. So we would just want to see how the instance console works. So this is our instance that we created. So if you don't have a floating IP associated to it, you cannot access it via any public IP, then in that case you can use its console, right? So this is the default username for it. Default password also you can see on your screen, and we are in the instance. So if I do an ifconfig, you'll be able to see the IP address. So it is 192.168.1.252, and same is here when you go on the dashboard, right? And okay, now let's say check if we have internet connectivity. So right now we are not having internet connectivity. So those kind of things we'll need to resolve. I'll just check the security policy what is applied. Okay, and all is good. And then from a network perspective, I will just inspect the network topology and see if things are connected. Okay, this particular interface is not up. Okay, it is showing as red. So that's why traffic is coming to this particular interface, but the gateway IP address which was received on the router was not going. So this is because we didn't add a continuous chunk of of the IP pool into our system, right? So if we try and check with admin, we should be able to see things happening. So let's say if we try it with the instance which we brought up day before yesterday, I guess. So let's check this one's console. So let's try ping internet here. Should work. So this is working fine, right? So basically the IP schema which we had on the network which is under admin, right? The external network. That should be correct, right? So this external network, we created certain IP pools yesterday, right? So this is working fine, but one of the routers is not working fine. So under admin, if we go to, so you can see we can access Manzi's router from the admin panel, right? So if I go here, if I check the interfaces, okay, now right now I can see it is up now. Let's try to ping it. Okay, it is pinging. So now that is happening. One more thing which I wanted to show is if you allocate the allocated floating IP to your instance, you should be able to then directly access the instance. So let's allocate one floating IP since we have more IPs now. And if I go to this particular instance and I associate this particular IP address. So these IPs are called floating IPs because they are not mapped directly to the instance. They are just kind of NAT to this private IP address. So if now I would try to ping this IP, it should work. I'll show you here. Sorry. Yeah. So now if I try to ping, so again I'm on ACS01A hypervisor. So if I now ping this IP address, it is working. Let me now try SSH. This should also work. And here in the same prompt which we saw earlier, right? So you can see it is still giving you the instance local IP address, right? And you can verify internet connectivity as well. Show us. So same instance is pinging the internet from here, but somehow, oh, okay. After that NAT, it is not working. Something maybe on your end, maybe you did not provide. Did you provide internet to these IP addresses as well?
I'm not sure, Mark or if Marvel will tell us. I'm not sure, but I think it makes sense. We can wait to see that. Let's see the answer. I had another question quickly. Mark, yes?
Nancy, I didn't get your question.
The question is, those IPs, do they have access to the internet? Are they allowed to go out?
We only allowed one node to go out.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right. So no worries. Means once you allow, they will also be able to communicate towards the internet.
Would there be any way we can actually pass the traffic to that one node through this one?
Sorry, Manzi, was that a question for me?
Yes. Now that we know which node is allowed to, there's no way to use that same node to channel all the traffic from this whole infrastructure.
No, we know the traffic will flow anyways. What we're trying to do here is we're trying to flow the traffic through this IP address, this floating IP address. As soon as I remove this floating IP address, let's say I click somewhere. Okay, so as soon as I remove this floating IP address and it is not associated with the instance anymore, you'll be able to see that it is again able to reach the internet, because internally it is using a random private IP address.
Okay. I
And
get it. It
right,
makes
so if
sense.
I now initiate it, you can see internet traffic is flowing again.
One quick question.
Yeah.
If my customer, for some reason, want to create a VPN to another network,
Yes, that is
how is that
possible.
done by? How can
So
you?
I'll show you. I'll show you. So if you means again, an admin would have to create a VPN, or at least would have to lay down the building pieces at network level, and then the end user will be able to create. So under networking, if I go and create a network from an admin panel, I showed you how to create it on a user end, right? So from an administrative perspective, if I see, there are a lot of options. So let's say I created an external network. Okay, let's say that it is your VPN network, right? Then I put this into your project. Then I tell it the provider type. So generally, how would like if it is not in the cloud, if there is a server and you want to connect it to a VPN, so basically what you would do is you will put it to a particular VLAN, right? And then that VLAN at some of either on your firewall, either on your router, you'll create a site-to-site VPN and keep the IP address in that particular VLAN, right? So as soon as you put the server on that same VLAN, it is accessible through site-to-site VPN to the end user, right? So those kind of things can be done. But that basic building block, someone needs to lay down that what is the VLAN number. A network admin who is managing the data center should tell the cloud administrator about the VLAN, and then he would just ingest that VLAN, and automatically anything which is connected to that VLAN is accessible through the site-to-site VPN. And if we want to if we don't want to have site-to-site VPN, we just want to have client to site VPN. In that case, OpenStack itself has VPN as a service that can be enabled and configured, and end users can create VPN for themselves. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. What I'm getting here is that somebody behind the scene must prepare everything for users to be able to do whatever they need to do by themselves. Because the whole idea is the possibility to let whoever has got a service with our client to tell them that he has an easy way to create his VPN to the outside with little intervention from the actual administrator of the entire cloud.
Right. So basically, VPN as a service is very easy to use. You can just enable it, and let's say public IP is already available in a public cloud, so you can just use that public IP and connect from wherever, right? But generally, when it comes to site-to-site VPN, so some, like let's say there is a customer who is having let's say a small data center available locally, comprising of let's say 5 6 servers or 10 servers, and then they want to host, they don't have any additional capacity, and then they want to host the additional capacity onto our cloud, right? Then they would demand for something called site to site VPN, right?
Yes.
So in that case, we'll have to assign them a VLAN, right? So nothing, no special configuration from my end. What I'll do is like I'll create an entire VLAN range, let's say from 1000 to 2000, which will have 1000 VLANs in it. So as a network, I'll just I can straight away communicate to the network admin that okay, for this customer, this particular VLAN has been enabled. So can you please create a site-to-site VPN on this VLAN? And as soon as you create it, everything is accessible to that customer again. Any VM which is running on the cloud is accessible to him directly over his network.
So no matter what, the administrator needs to intervene.
Yeah, it means the network administrator will surely have to intervene.
Now I was wondering how
Because
we do this on AWS, and I thought you could actually give that as a service for them to serve themselves in the same manner. So I thought it's because I'm seeing things here looking like AWS. I was thinking of doing the same. I never call anybody when I'm to create a VPN.
no customer.
Is that the network the customer's network administrator or the admin, the overall admin of the entire system?
So basically, both the means in a site-to-site VPN, both the admins are involved. So basically, let's say the customer himself is like technically capable that he could configure VPN on his end, then we don't
Right.
need anyone, right? But if in given the present day situation, that is not the scenario. Even on AWS, if you don't have proper knowledge of how to create a site-to-site VPN, you won't be able to create a VPN. You can configure, you can ask it as a service from AWS. AWS will do configuration on its routers and it will give you. But at the end, you need to configure your router as well, so that a site-to-site tunnel is established, right?
Okay. What I get from what you're saying here is if the user is capable enough with no help from the admin of the Openstack, he might actually be able to do that if things are being put into place for that.
Right, right, right.
Meaning, during the setup of the OpenStack,
The club.
we can actually
Right,
prepare places where VPNs can be created by
right,
customers.
right, right,
Okay.
right, right.
With procedures, how we used to do that, like simple videos, I imagine.
Right, right. Simple videos or guides or screenshots we can, you can provide it to the end users. So if they are capable enough, they'll do it without any help. But most of the time that will not be the case. So most of the time someone, they would demand for some support. Then someone from our team plus someone from their team will connect and then resolve the issue.
Okay, yeah, understood. So that's it.
Yeah, that's all from OpenStack perspective. Then Ceph, I showed you, so you can see why, because I'm using through SSH tunneling, it's not opening. So we'll just close it. So Ceph, I already showed you the basic blocks yesterday, but I would still pause here and welcome any questions because it's
No, no, I would
like
rather
it's
go.
more of a.
I would rather go.
Go
We were
ahead.
supposed to talk about there was an interface. You see, all of this is well presented, but there's an interface you proposed at the time. What's the name of this interface?
Yeah, the interface name is Walder. Yeah, I remember it. So today we
Folder.
were,
We want to
yeah,
see
yeah.
how can I play those together. You see, our target is to find a way to see what we present to a client. We give this backend
Right.
this thing that works well, and now a
Yeah,
good interface that
sure.
will
Yeah,
have
yeah.
something that's totally funded for him.
Right, right. So basically, what I would do is I would present you Walder tomorrow. But again, my suggestion would still be that you go with OpenStack dashboard because again, things like VPN as a service, it won't appear on Walder dashboard. So
Okay.
somehow at the end, you would be like, either we develop a customize our own portal or we go with the OpenStack dashboard itself.
You advise that we go with OpenStack dashboard.
Yes,
For
yes.
some
Because see, OpenStack is
companies,
adding.
for companies that are using it internally, it doesn't make any big difference. But for people who
Mhm,
want to do public service, like the customer retargeting, it could be a necessity
mhm.
to set a good branding. They want to show the world that that's what they do themselves. So they hide behind this OpenStack and show their face. That's what we're thinking of. That's why I'm thinking
So
beforehand.
what we'll do is, Mansi, for means we'll evaluate all of these things. But generally, I've seen people generally go for some, they would associate with some web development, right? And they don't they don't you don't need to work too much on the web development also. You would just customize this interface a bit, maybe some colors here, some colors there, change the logo and all, and then some through some Java console which is integrated to OpenStack as well as your billing system, they would portray all those things. So there are a lot of based on requirement. So first thing is like we need to fix the requirement that okay, we'll be going up with this service. And I know like you have not seen all those dashboards, so it is tough for you. So basically our first approach should be that okay, let's see first what each kind of dashboard, a paid one or a free one, has to offer, and then based on our requirements that okay, we want to limit our feature set to this one only, so then we can fix that particular dashboard and we can start using it. So I'll give you an example. There is another dashboard called Fleo.io. It is a paid dashboard. It is again like 80% integrated with OpenStack. but it supports quite advanced features as well, right? So recently in some other engagement, they finalized to go with Fleer.io.
Yeah, you know,
So it
I know
depends.
about Wanda. I know about Wanda through you. So if you advise something else, I'll still ask you. Still, you know, these are. I'm seeing the world. It's like a kid who's seeing the world in the eyes of his mother. Of his mother. You see, now I'm looking into this based on what you have shown me so far and based on what you're talking about. So if you do not think Wilder is the way to go, then it will be hard for me to think about Wilder. But if you think there's another one, it is a matter of getting ready. When you approach the customer, one or the other, actually, we'll know how we're going to approach him. We tell him about Openstack maybe, and then how we're going to brand his name on whatever product you're going to give him. That's what I'm talking about only. So you choose. You know, what you choose
Yeah,
to go with.
I can choose if we have a fixed feature set. So if you say that, okay, I'll be just using this feature, then we can quickly fix what kind of portal we are going to use. But if the feature set is not fixed, till that time it is dicey. So we might initially, propose, like, let's say 3 to 4 dashboards or 5 dashboards, and then out of those 5 we stick towards one. So my suggestion would be that you see all the dashboards, and then out of that we choose anyone.
Do you think we can go through them without your help? Like, do they have videos, or you're gonna help us go through them as well?
No, no, I'll help you. So wherever like for Walter there, I saw that not much videos are available, right? So wherever we have video references, we won't put too much effort in building it up and then going through the functionality set, because videos are there. Then you can. So basically, it's the dashboard. We don't want to see the backend functionality. Backend functionality you can always test through the OpenStack dashboard, right? So wherever videos are available, we'll compare through videos. I will do a pre-evaluation for you. So I'll list down the features which it has versus dashboard 1 versus dashboard 2. What is the cost? What is the features? So I'll do that kind of evaluation for you. But ultimately, you will have to choose one of those, right? So based on our the feature set which you want, we'll just stick to any one of that initially, and then dashboard is something which you can change also, right? Technically, if the OpenStack environment behind the scenes is working, you can anytime switch over to a new dashboard.
So, are you saying we're presenting one tomorrow? I mean, what is your plan?
Yeah,
What is
so my plan is to present at least one tomorrow. Then I would say that by the time, if you have some time
customer?
today, you go through this dashboard I've just sent in the chat. They have video as well as they have a demo console available. So just go through them and see that if that suffices towards your need. And then I'll tomorrow show you like a Walder, which is like dashboard 2. Then day after we can keep going step by step. You can provide me inputs that, okay, this one looks good, this one not very good, this one okay kind of status, right? So based on your inputs, then I can like finalize top 2 3 and then give you a comparison.
Thank you very much, Raul. I don't know if there's any other question in the team.
Yeah, so if there are any questions, please bring it out. This is the right time. Be it technical, be it some functionality, how it is working behind the scenes. You can just ask me.
So I have a one question.
Yeah, sure, please.
Yeah, it's regarding those volumes.
Mm-hmm.
Is it possible to mount another volume on an existing instance?
Yes. So in yesterday's, so I'll just show you. We do have an instance here, right? So let's create another volume. Let's call it volume 2, and let's give it 1 GB or maybe even 2 GB. And then as soon as you create that volume, then automatically there is a section called manage attachments. So you can go there and you can select the instance to which you can attach, to which you want to attach this volume, and it will attach to that instance. So you can like
So there is
attach
no other.
multiple volumes.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, if that is possible, it's okay.
Okay. Okay. Any other queries, comments?
So what about to use those S3 storage?
Yeah, S3 capability is present in our set. So so this is our kind of S3 API. So this is the sample API which it is showing you. But basically, what we will do in our production situations is means again S3 detail you will be able to see on the dashboard. I don't think we have deployed it as of now. No, not deployed. So then again, one more tab appears over here, which will connect again to the Ceph S3. So backend will be the Ceph only, but in the front end you will be able to see containers, and then within that containers you'll be able to see your data. So means S3 compatibility is there within OpenStack. So you can use an S3 client and push data.
Smart.
Okay, I don't know if you did this in a missed it. Could you take us back in the Excel? Tell us a bit about our corporate infrastructure, the one you use right now, quickly, before we close this talk, because I think we're almost done.
Yeah. Sure, Mansinga. What was it again? I just missed out.
The Excel, the Excel seems to be okay. Thank you very much, Saul. I personally thank you very much. And I believe everyone who's been following, we got so much information in such a short time. Thank you very much for the time they put given in putting this into place. Tomorrow we'll finish with Walder. Then I go hit on our client, see if we can make good use of this POC that we now in place. I've been waiting for it for a long time.
Yeah. Even me too. So no worries. So we'll close the call for today, and then we'll prep up for Walter dashboard for tomorrow. Okay, everyone. Take care then. Bye bye.